toilet paper problem as well, where there was a toilet paper shortage during COVID, and obviously it wasn't really suddenly a tremendous enhanced need for ass wiping. It's just people panicked in order to and got every paper product you could possibly wipe your ass with, basically. And I wasn't sure, is this like a real thing or not? I actually took my kids to the HEB and Walmart in Texas to just confirm that this was real. Indeed, it was. And there was plenty of food and everything else, but just nothing, no paper products that didn't cause a splinter. So, an odd choice for people to panic about. Mm-hmm. If the end of the world's coming, I think toilet paper is the least of your problems.
What's up, money lovers? Welcome back. Couldn't resist throwing that clip in there, but we're here to get our money up, not our funny up. So let's get right to the earnings report here. This was Tesla's best quarter yet, best quarter ever. Nothing but positives here, despite what CNBC and the media is putting their little spin on it to tank the stock, but these are just better and better prices to buy Tesla at every day. I'm going to cover it all. But before we begin, I want to ask you guys a question. If you had 4 products that you could not meet the demand of, demand is just increasing, you can't build enough of them to sell, would you also bring 2 new products to market? Or would you just stick with the original 4? Let me know in the comments below and we'll get back to that later. So real quick, we'll look at the numbers and then I'll just talk to you guys about some of the notes I took about their earnings call itself. So this was their strongest quarter yet. They sold over 308,000 vehicles, $17.7 billion in total revenue. The gross margin on that automotive revenue was over 30%, and this is just going to continue to increase. That is an insane profit margin for an automotive. And when you apply this number out, and then if we just do some quick napkin math here, Tesla has forecasted they're going to sell 20 million vehicles in 2030. So I'm just saying, let's say that the average vehicle sale price is $45,000. It's probably going to be higher than that. It's probably more than 45. But let's just say their average sale price is being very conservative. It's $45,000. If 30% of that is gross profit, so I'm going to say around $15,000 profit per car, times 20 million vehicles sold, you get $300 billion in gross profit. So if you're asking if Tesla is worth its high PE ratio today, if they're going to do $300 billion gross profit in 2030, probably even higher than that as their profit margins continue to increase, I mean, this is just a no-brainer. Over 308,000 vehicle deliveries, up 71% year over year. And of course, leave it to the media, leave it to Wall Street to take something so beautiful, such great news, and put a negative spin on it, sending the stock down over $100. This is madness. In the earnings call, they said that they projected for 2022 growth of 50% at the conservative end. We're going to get to the details. Do you even need to hear anything else? This company's going to grow another 50%. 1.7 million vehicle deliveries to come in 2022. Stock's down over $100. You figure that one out, but you know what? It's just creating more opportunities to buy in for cheaper. So the reason I asked that question in the beginning about if you had 4 products that are in such high demand that you literally cannot produce enough of them to meet the demand just keeps growing, would you take 2 new products to market? You would have to be an idiot to take 2 new products to market. And why is this important? Because one of the things that Tesla's getting flack for is they don't meet deadlines. They have now pushed back, again, the Cybertruck and the Roadster launches. They're not going to be bringing them to mass production in 2022. They don't need to. They can't. They literally came out and said if they were to make the Cybertruck this year, it would lead to them selling less cars overall. So do you build 4 cars and sell more cars? Or do you add 2 new products to the mix for 6 total and sell less overall? No, this is about capturing as much of the market as they can. There's no need to rush the Cybertruck. It's going to come eventually. And I have some other theories as to that as well. You know, a lot of people are saying, oh, Ford's beating them to the truck market now with their F-150 Lightning coming out. We'll see how good that car is. You know, we'll see if it's all it's chalked up to be. Maybe they're cutting corners to get it out so quickly. I really don't care. Maybe Tesla's letting them test the waters. I'm not worried at all. The Cybertruck will come eventually. It will have its day. But for now, they could just make the Model 3 and the Y and they'd be fine. So the expectations for 2022, as I had said, growth comfortably above 50%, comfortably above it. So they sold almost 1 million this year. We're talking somewhere in the 1.5, 1.7 million range. But perhaps even more interestingly and more importantly, Elon is completely confident that they will achieve full self-driving this year. Full self-driving may be the biggest increase of any asset in history. You know, the benefits, we'll get to this a little bit later, but we're not even really able to quantify the benefits of full self-driving yet. I mean, just the thought that overnight, let's say you bought your Model 3, let's say you spent 50 grand on it, 6 months down the line, it now has its full self-driving. It's going to lead to so much value creation without having to actually do anything. I mean, this is a software update that's going to happen overnight eventually. So one of the big headlines now, why there's so much negativity on Tesla, and really a lot of the electric vehicle stocks were going down today. They did forecast more supply chain issues to come in 2022, but keep in mind in 2021, when, in theory, in peak COVID 2020 and 2021, Tesla grew 90% in 2021, while every other major auto manufacturer, their sales actually declined in 2021. So I would think that the supply chain woes, we've passed the peak, and it should get a little bit better from here. Either way, Tesla will do well. They've got a plan for all this stuff. Can't say the same for all the other legacy auto manufacturers. So they touched a lot on their most important product development being this year is going to be the humanoid robot. It has this potential to be more significant than the vehicle business over time. This obviously is way over the head of Wall Street. They have no ability or idea or any way to comprehend this type of stuff. So they're completely writing it off as an unprofitable venture for Tesla. Okay, so even if you think that, like we said, 50%, this year product-wise, things that are actually being mass-produced is vehicles, and they're going to grow 50%. So you can write off the robot entirely, and this is still a company that grows 50%. Now, this is where it really gets juicy. The pace of growth for 2022, they're projecting more than 50% and saying that this growth can come from Fremont and Shanghai gigafactories alone. So not even accounting for Berlin, not accounting for the gigafactory in Austin, Texas. 2 of the 4 factories alone could get them that 50% growth. So if those other 2 factories for some reason don't come online or fully ramp this year, they're still going to hit that number. So just imagine what's possible when all 4 factories are running at full production. I mean, they could grow even more than 50% this year. They touched on HVAC, saying Tesla could eventually get into that. It would make a lot of sense. It's kind of the next big venture. It would obviously complement, they're already doing the solar panels, the batteries. Making more efficient houses would actually be easier because they've already done so much with cooling and heat pumps and stuff with the cars. It's actually harder in a car because you're dealing with a much smaller space and weight and things like that. Whereas with a house, it's actually pretty easy to apply it. But this is something further down the line as they have a lot on their plate right now. But the vertical integration there, I mean, Tesla will run your home, solar panels, car, battery, HVAC. So a lot of Tesla's future profitability is going to come from software. Everything really pales in comparison, they said, to FSD and the potential for that. Robotaxis. FSD, or full self-driving, would lead to a 5 or 10x increase in the utility of the asset with no additional cost, which is utterly mind-blowing. You have your $50,000 Tesla car that now has a 5 to 10x increase in utility off of a software update. They don't need to do anything new. Obviously you have to pay for the FSD upfront, but the potential here, we're not going to really truly understand until it comes to market. But just some of the quick potential benefits. FSD, safer than a human. They're trying to get it as close to perfection as possible, but being better than a human, they said, is actually a relatively low standard, as humans kind of suck at driving. They get distracted, they fall asleep, they text and drive, and Elon said he'd be shocked if we don't achieve FSD that's safer than a human this year. So what are the benefits here? Less accidents, safer driving. Further out, the robotaxi network, it will literally be cheaper to use the Tesla fleet to get people around where you're not using your Tesla or having Tesla specifically out there operating as their own autonomous Uber. Goodbye Uber, goodbye Lyft. It will be cheaper to take Teslas everywhere that are fully autonomous than it would be to ride a bus, to take the subway. Just think, we really can't even put a number on. This is going to change the world. It'll be cheaper than a bus ticket. It'll be cheaper to go point to point in an autonomous Tesla than even a bus or a subway. I mean, just think about that. Full self-driving, millions of these cars suddenly having 5x the utility that they used to overnight. It's profound, and it's kind of unquantifiable at the current moment. Hopefully, by the end of this year, we get to start to see actual numbers of what this can do. They wrote off questions about the rumored Tesla $25,000 car. They could still be working on it, and it's just not a priority right now. But they did make a good argument that it actually does make more sense to focus on FSD, because when the utility value increases 5x, having a full self-driving car, you could also think about it as, now this car you're buying for $50,000, with the value you're going to get out of it, maybe be able to make some money on it. It's really like buying a $10,000 car. So it actually does make sense to prioritize FSD over a cheaper car. And again, going back to my question in the beginning, why make a cheaper car, a new model, when they can't even sell the more profitable and current models that they already have at volume production? It's not the right time. Maybe eventually, but FSD is the priority here for this year. If we go to Twitter here, Gary Black, who tends to be right about many things Tesla related, says the Tesla revisions chart is a huge anomaly that won't persist. And if we take a look at this chart here, you just see the red line is Tesla's earnings per share, which as you can see, just keeps going up and up and up. Whereas the stock price has now diverged from it. They've gone in opposite directions. This is an anomaly. This should not persist. This is probably bargain territory for Tesla stock, barring a market crash. Who knows if it can get much cheaper from here, but this is definitely a good buying opportunity. Most likely will not last. I'm not sure you could derive anything that is not tremendously positive from Tesla's earnings report. If supply chain issues persist, this is going to affect the entire automotive industry and others much more than it will Tesla, as they've proved in the past. I'm really not worried about Ford bringing the F-150 Lightning to market before the Cybertruck, as you know, this is a very small market. I mean, not a small market, but compared to the entire car market, it does make more sense to capture as much of the car market share versus selling a few Cybertrucks. And it doesn't really matter because people who are going to buy a Ford were never going to buy a Cybertruck and vice versa. I really can't imagine the traditional Ford truck consumer really cares much about buying an electric truck anyway. I think they're perfectly happy with their ICE Ford F-150s. So it'll be interesting. We'll see how their launch goes. Another argument, Tesla losing market share. You know, Tesla is the Apple of the car industry. Apple has, I think, somewhere around 45% of the US phone market. That's less than half, but it's Apple. That 45% is never leaving. I see a similar future for Tesla. Even when everyone else is making cars, they're going to get small slivers of this market. Tesla could have less than 50% of the market and be getting insane profit margins off that. Like I said earlier, their mission, their goal is 20 million electric vehicles sold in 2030. The car market right now, globally, is around 70 million, a little bit less. Let's just project out that by 2030, it grows to 80 million. So if Tesla sells 20 million, that's only 25% of the market. That's even less than what Apple has, and they've got the best product. It's only going to continue to get better. So they sell 20 million cars, they make that insane profit margin, and it gets them $300 billion of automotive gross profit, like I showed you earlier. What made Apple so successful? Branding, proprietary tech, economies of scale, and much, much more that I think Tesla also has. So regardless of everything else, just selling those 20 million cars with a 30% profit margin, nothing else really matters, but yet everything else is going to be even bigger revenue generators. There are so many positives. This doesn't even factor in solar, Cybertruck, FSD, any of this stuff. There's only one direction for Tesla to go, and that's up. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, drop me a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. This is Vinny from the Investment Club, and I'll see you next time.